When we think about the idea of a budget, what goes through our minds? A lot of people, the idea of budgeting is the idea of restriction, the idea of putting a chokehold over what we want to do in the future. Far from that. A budget is a vital stepping stone towards reaching your financial and business objectives. And in this week's I Hate Numbers video, I'm going to go through the steps, the key things you need to consider when you're putting a budget together. And I'm going to be looking through the mediums, through the eyeglass of an arts and creative organisation. Let's choose, for example, a theatre in this case. Hi folks, my name is Mahmood. I'm a business finance fixer, accountant and author, and owner of the firm I Hate Numbers and the book of the same name. And for the last 29 years, I've been helping thousands of business owners like yourself make more money, reduce their time spent on unproductive tasks, increase their financial awareness, save time, save tax, and have the business lifestyles they aspire to. And I want that for you. Let's proceed with the video. The whole idea of a budget is a framework, it's a story that you're spinning, that you're creating for the future. Now, key things are, so let's put ourselves in this fictional theatre called I Hate Numbers Theatre Production, and we're putting together a budget for the next 12 months, for example. Now, the budget is a footprint, it's a step that goes towards whatever our end destination, whatever our end aspiration and goal is. And when we put our budget together, one of the first things we should do is to consider what is our business model. The budget is largely a financial model representing what we think the future looks like, and therefore it's important that we understand what our business model is. Now, this theatre that we're looking at, the I Hate Numbers theatre, will be generating income from a variety of sources. So one consideration will be, where does that money come from? And the money will come from a combination of grants, a combination of donations, a combination of ticket sales, a combination of merchandise that's being sold, and that's 4 key sources of revenue. Having established that, the next thing that we need to consider within that is, what's the value proposition? What's the purpose of the theatre? Is to increase engagement, increase audiences, to give pleasurable experiences, informative, educational and inspirational. What other aspects of the business model do we need to consider? Well, other aspects we need to consider of the business model would be the client groups. Who are the audiences and the client groups that are going to be engaging with us? So for example, there could be families, they could be certain income earners, they could be certain demographics, certain audiences that we want to reach out to, develop. It could be for young people, it could be for communities. So knowing your purpose and knowing your customer segments is going to be quite powerful. There's a lot more that we can factor into the business model. So for example, what's our existing cost structure? What costs are we expending on those activities involved in putting on the performances, putting on those workshops that we might be doing? What are those costs that are largely fixed and part of supporting the organisation? There's a lot more to the business model, by the way, and I'm going to be dealing with this on a future I Hate Numbers video. Now, when we look to the future, by nature, we don't actually know with 100% certainty what is likely to happen. But that's not the point. The point is to consider the story, our activity plan that we're going to be implementing in order to get to that end destination. Now, typically, most budgets look at 12-month timeframes. They look at a framework within that 12 months here, and then we might also forecast beyond that timeframe. Ultimately, it's what's the financial impact, what's the financial story that we're telling to get to that end destination. That end destination, by the way, folks, in other circles, is called goals and objectives. Now, what we need to formulate in our budget framework is, having decided what that 12-month activity plan is, what's the marketing spend, what do we need to promote to actually put on the shows that we're looking to put on, what's the development costs that go like to be on any R&D and any new shows coming out, what are we planning to actually do, what are we planning to implement. Once we've decided what we're planning to implement, we can then figure out what that might mean in terms of income streams. Now, things like grants may be a bit more certain to actually project and forecast. Other grants might be based on applications that we're putting in. And therefore, we've got to have some degree of certainty and probability before we put those numbers into our budget. If we go by the nature of all the different revenue streams that are coming in, we can identify costs that are going to be incurred and resources expensed in order to produce and provide those activities. So typically for a show, we're going to be thinking artistic costs, we're going to be thinking costs of ticketing, costs of venue and studio hire for rehearsals. Obviously, if we've got our own space, there may be ancillary costs in connection with that. There may be the cost of script writing, there'll be the cost of rehearsals. All those things have to be factored in. Now, when it comes to the support costs for those activities, we're going to be typically thinking like front of house, staffing costs, HR, marketing, IT, and let's not forget the finance professional who'd want to gloss over that one. Now, as we go forward and we produce that activity plan, we translate that into what that looks like financially, we have a first cut of our story. And if you're thinking this is a lot of heavy lifting, Mahmood, how do we do that? Well, there are a number of devices available to you. And as between me and you, we have a numbers know-how platform, which is a financial planning here, where you can actually put your forecasts in there. You can generate metrics. You can generate what that financial plan looks like, that budget plan. You can also have it integrated with a digital platform like Xero. So when you come to monitor and review your budget, you can actually see what's going on side by side. Again, check out the show notes here for a link and a free sign-up trial for 7 days to see what it's like. Now let's proceed on. Now, having produced our budget, we need to also think carefully about the people we're going to involve in that process. Who are the key members? Who are the key stakeholders? Who are the key people in the management team that need to formulate what that forecast looks like? Now, folks, in subsequent weeks, I'm going to be looking at the budget process in a bit more detail about the tools that we can use and the techniques here. But the key thing is, if you've got a good budget process in place, you've got a greater likelihood of cutting down the risk of catastrophe, a greater likelihood of not hitting the rocks of financial disaster, and it's a great way to monitor, to review, and to see how we're progressing towards our end objective. Hopefully you found this video useful. If you have, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share it with those who you feel would benefit from it as well. And until we meet again next week, plan it, do it, profit.